First of all, it's always great to start with a win, right? These guys have put in a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of effort, and to come out of here with the win the way we did, I was really proud of them. I was proud of the way we started the game on defense and on special teams. I thought that was a key point I made to the team yesterday. Hey, we're going to defer if we win. We're going to get a 3-and-out, and we're going to try to go block a punt. And that's exactly how this thing started. Great block by Deshaun Jameson. Obviously, Keelan scooping and scoring. DJ, obviously, big night with the pick six. I thought, defensively, our ability to stop the run was critical. I think we had, 8 or 9 TFLs, 3 sacks. Barron Sorrell was very impactful, rushing the passer. DeMarvion felt like he was all over the field, which was great to see. Thought offensively, obviously the first drive did not go the way we kind of wanted it to do, so much for my opening script. But I thought after that, we kind of settled in and, really kind of put together a nice first half after that first drive. And I think we had, might have been 4 touchdowns, a field goal, and had an opportunity at the end of the first half on a field goal with good execution to get down there. So that part was positive. And I think for the second half, a lot of guys got an opportunity to play, and which, is really important, that they get that experience. And some of that is not going to be perfect. Some of that's going to have some mistakes and failures, but hopefully we can learn from it and they can understand what that's all about when you actually get in the game and how critical it is to be right and to be on your stuff. I think obviously JT Sanders had a fantastic game, not just receiving but blocking. I thought the versatility of Bijan showed up again tonight. From a critical standpoint, we got a lot to work on still. This was not a perfect game. We had an opportunity in the red area and kind of stubbed our toe with the sack and penalties and things where we had to settle for a field goal. Didn't generate kind of the vertical passing game the way we would have liked. Took some shots, and that didn't play out the way we would have liked to. So that was a little bit frustrating. But that's part of it. We're gonna keep taking those shots when they present themselves, and we'll hit them. So I thought it was good for Quinn to get his feet wet. It was good. Hud had a chance to get in there. That offensive line unit he was with was a little bit new faces in there. It took them a minute, but then they put together a heck of a drive there. I think it was a 12-play drive to go and score. So all in all, it was a positive day, but yet plenty to work on, and that's what we got to get focused on, is making sure that we're getting ourselves right, because that's the most important thing. It's not always about the opponent. It's about what we do and how we go do it.
Start in the second row with Sam.
Sark, you mentioned the opening script. After that first drive, did you tweak it much? And also, I know you've talked about Quinn's even keel mentality. Did that come through today throughout his performance? I thought
it was good for him. I don't think anybody wants to throw an interception on their second career pass, and I think it was a good learning lesson for him too. Sometimes you earn the right to punt, as they say. I hate saying that, but that was an opportunity where what we called was not a great call. They covered it. He got flushed and he tried to force a throw, and so really good learning moment for him. But I didn't feel for a second where he got flustered or was out of whack by any means. I thought he was very composed. Even the throws that he missed, he almost signaled to me like I should have done this or I could have done that, and that part was encouraging. We had a little bit of a miscommunication where he missed Xavier there in the corner of the end zone on a third down, where he thought it was one route, it was another. So it appeared to be late on the throw, but it was more of a miscommunication where he just didn't quite get the right signal. So all those things, like I touched on when we named him the starter, we were going to have some growing pains, and we had some tonight, but I thought we came out on the other side of them and we're better for it.
Over here on the left, Kirk.
What kind of grade would you give Quinn? And, after those 2 bumps in the road early, did you kind of resort to more safer throws and threw a lot on first down?
No, I mean, we kind of stuck to the plan. We had some things called down the field that I thought he did a nice job of finding his checkdowns on. We can't you can't expect him to ride this bike and do it with training wheels on. I gotta let him go, and we did that tonight. I thought that, again, some guys made some nice plays around him. I thought there were some really cool fourth down conversions, that he executed well, where, maybe our third down call wasn't as aggressive because we knew we were going for it on fourth down. And then he made some critical throws, in those fourth down scenarios, which were big time plays. And so from a grade standpoint, I don't know. I mean, I thought he played well, and again, I got to look at the tape and look at MAs and different things. It didn't feel that way. I felt like there were some things we could have done a little better around him, and there was probably a handful of throws he'd love to have back. But that's part of playing the position, and hopefully he's better next week.
On your far right, Chip.
Steve, what did you like most about your defense tonight? And can you talk about the progress of Sorrell and Jalen Gilbo had that quarterback hurry on the pick six?
Yeah. I thought a couple things about our defense. One, I thought our effort was really good. That very rarely was it a solo tackle that got made. It felt like there was a lot of white hats getting to the ball. And that's something that we've been preaching, is effort and populating the football. Early in the year, tackling is one of the things that scares you at most as a head coach. And one of the best ways to negate that is making sure there's other guys around. So if you do miss, you get them on the ground. That was positive. I thought our front affected the game. We did a really good job stopping the run. We affected the quarterback at some critical moments. Gilbo's had a great camp, and with freshmen, you never know until the lights come on. But that's a really good 1-2 punch we have at our star position with Gilbo and Jade. With Jade kind of coming off the ankle injury, I thought they both played well in their moments, and it was a heck of a pressure. And then obviously, DJ being able to score that touchdown. And Sorrell, he's a guy who played some as a true freshman that we all thought had the potential, which is not a great word in sports, right? Potential means that you're not playing the way you're probably capable of. But I thought Sorrell has worked on his craft. And he cut it loose tonight and was able to generate some pressures on the quarterback. Obviously, I think he had a sack and a half or a couple sacks tonight and got in around the ball. And we need that, I mean, obviously, we're counting on Demo, we're counting on Ovi, we're counting on Sweat and Byron Murphy. But to have Sorrell step up the way they did was a real positive.
Back here on your left, Setter.
Hey, Steve, I guess considering the opponent and you guys were heavily favored, could you have scripted it any better? Because you actually dominated and came out pretty healthy.
Yeah, we did. I think two things. I want to come back to the health part. But one is I kind of wouldn't have scripted it any better because we had some adversity tonight, especially for Quinn. If he would have came out and been, 17 for 18 or 17 for 19, he wouldn't have had to respond to some of those things. And so I didn't want him to throw a pick on his second pass of his career, but I found out about him. I found out that he's not going to go in a shell. He's not going to, beat himself up and get down on himself. He's going to bounce back. I thought it was good that a lot of guys got to play. And like I said, they weren't perfect. And so that was a positive. And I think, from a housekeeping standpoint, not having any real injuries tonight, that's a positive, man. That's tough to do, is go play a full 4-quarter football game and not have the injuries that we're fortunate tonight not to get. And I think a couple other housekeeping things. You guys probably noticed Ajay Hall's back with the team, which we're excited to have. It's great to have him back and going with us and have him being part of our program, and proud of the work that he did to get himself back. Jaleel Billingsley is in the process of serving a 6-game suspension, not for anything that occurred here with us, but at his previous stop. So he's in the process of that. He's got 5 more games to go. We'll get him back for Big 12 play. So those are kind of the housekeeping things.
Coach, obviously you guys have a huge game with Bama next week, and it would have been pretty easy for your guys to maybe overlook, this week. Did you have to have conversations about being mentally focused and zeroing in on that challenge of just saying, don't look forward to Alabama, stay focused on what the task ahead?
Yeah, I think a couple things. One, that's one of the things I'm really most proud of our guys. You know, I think we've all been watching the games here today. And there's been a couple games that everyone thought were going to go a certain way and didn't, where it was a heavily favored team or a team that everybody thought was going to just kind of walk out on the field and roll the ball out and come out with a big win. And a couple teams ended up losing those games. A couple of them were a lot tighter games than they were anticipating. So for our guys to handle it the way they did tonight and do it in the fashion that they did, that was really encouraging. But honestly, I didn't mention anything about next week's game to our guys. I haven't mentioned that game since that game got put on our schedule and since I've been here. The focus was on this game and what we needed to do this game to play our brand of football, our style of football. I think we're on the right course to go do that. You know, I've got the utmost respect for Alabama and Nick Saban and that organization and that team, which you all know that. And so we need a good week of preparation, and we need to focus on the things that we need to improve upon, which there's plenty there. We need to focus on the game plan as we start working into that, so that we can go play our style, our brand of football. We can't get enamored with Alabama. We have to be enamored with us and what we need to do to play effective football next Saturday.
Got time for 3 last ones. Start with Adam in the middle.
It's Sarky. Obviously, Quinn hadn't played for a long time, and I know you're not in the huddle, but how do you think he handled some of the leadership, the intangible aspects of playing quarterback, even though he's obviously a young player?
I think he did great, and I think it's only going to continue to improve because I've seen it. I've really started to see it kind of the second half of this last week. You know, you can feel his presence. You could he's getting more comfortable. You know, it's tough when you're a first-year starter and, you know, you're barking at, you know, Christian Jones or Roshan to do something or what the call is or motivating guys. But I think he is totally out of his shell now. And I think he's got a lot of respect of his teammates, you know. So that was positive. But I think Quinn is astute enough to know he's got some really talented people around him, you know, and whether it's the runners, the receivers, the tight ends, you know, what we're doing up front now, that he doesn't feel like he has to go, you know, be the hero. He's got to operate our offense. And when we can do that, we're relatively effective. You know, we've got enough weapons that people have to defend, and we're physical enough up front where we got a chance. Now, we need to execute a little better for my liking, but that's what practice is for.
Danny, go ahead.
Steve, can I just get your thoughts on the boost that DJ gave you, both on special teams and on defense?
That was awesome. You know, I think one thing for DJ that, you know, throughout his career, he's thought of on special teams as a returner, right? And that's been kind of his role. And we've been kind of banging the drum with him, you know, Coach Banks and myself, Coach Joseph, about there's more to his game than just being a returner. He can have an impact on this game, on special teams in a lot of variety of ways. He obviously showed it, you know. We've never seen him block a punt, rushing a punt, because he's always been the guy back returning. And we saw tonight the impact that he can have. Obviously, he's got great ball skills in the secondary. And that what he did tonight on the interception for the touchdown, I probably saw 3 or 4 times this training camp. He just seems kind of like the guy that's Johnny on the spot. Tips and overthrows, we say it all the time, you got to have those. And he's been one of the mainstays of the guys that's been making those plays in training camp. And it showed up again tonight. And I think there's a great appreciation for DJ that way, because our team knows, man, he would love to be the returner, but yet we're asking something different of him. And so for the first punt of the season, for him to be the guy to block it, and Coach Banks told him he was going to block it if this is how they blocked it. And sure enough, you know, he trusted it and went and did it. And so I think that speaks volumes to the buy-in on our team of guys willing to do more when things are asked of them, and DJ did that.
2 last ones. Jim on the far right.
Sark, since you mentioned it, this seems like a pretty unique situation, a 6-game suspension for something that happened at a previous stop. Can you give us any more about what that's all about? Is he in some kind of legal trouble, some problem with what happened at Alabama? What's going on?
Nothing legal at all. It's an NCAA suspension. It's not something from Alabama or from us. It's an NCAA suspension. I'll leave it at that. I'll say that Jaleel's been a great teammate. He's working hard. I know the guys will be excited when we can get him back.
Last one up front, Brian.
Steve, you touched on it, but just, you know, it was announced tonight that game day will be here next Saturday. You know, the whole outside world is going to be all worked up for next Saturday. But how do you talk to the guys about keeping that even keel that you preach about, and not having to, you don't play an out of body experience. Just play your game and do your thing.
Well, I think one thing we know, unless CDC does something crazy, we're going to have 101,000 people in the stadium. That's all we can fit. There's not going to be 300,000 people in there or something crazy. They're going to play with 11. We're going to play with 11. Last time I checked, the field's not going to change. And so how do we want to play in the environment that we're comfortable being in? We don't have to make this more than it needs to be. We need to focus on the task at hand and our preparation, and recognize we're playing a good opponent who's really well coached, who's a disciplined football team, that plays a brand and style of football that we play. And I think it's, ultimately they're going to focus on what they need to do. We'll focus on what we need to do. And I think the team that can get caught up in this is the one that starts worrying about those outside things, tickets, game day, all the other things that can go into something like this. So the reality of it is focus on the task at hand, follow your routine, come to work, at 7:15 every morning like we do, and we'll start with the players right here. Go to class in the afternoon, come back and meet with them in the evening, and find your routine and stick to your routine. And generally, that's when you perform the best in games like this.